Okay. All right. I think we might be live. I don't know. The whole YouTube thing. Yep, it says I'm streaming live on YouTube, even though it says on the screen that I'm preparing my live YouTube stream. Hi, everybody. Good morning. It's Susan Patang from the Quiet Zone Coaching. And I just wanted to step in again this morning for part 2 of dealing with toxic people and toxic situations. And I know from personal experience, just a little bit about me, I suffer from anxiety and depression. I take medication, which I'm trying to wean myself off of. Just as a side note, I thought you guys might be interested in hearing it can be done. But medication therapy and all that stuff didn't do the job. It helped. Yeah, don't get me wrong. It was helpful. But what had to happen was I had to change the way I think. Okay. I had to change the way I interacted with the world. I had to change the way I viewed the world, the color of the lenses that I put on every day to see the rest of the world and other people. And that's how you are going to get through dealing with toxic people, dealing with toxic situations. And yesterday, if you didn't see it, see if you could go back and find that live video. We talked about basic communication skills. We're going to take those now and apply them to dealing with conflict when you're starting to get into it with somebody else. Okay. And we talked about always being curious about other people, always be willing to learn something new. Focus on the person you're talking to. Don't look at your phone or look at the hot guy walking by. Remembering the golden rule, treating people the way we would want to be treated, and also treating people the way they want to be treated. Being the change that we want to see, being a good example. Walking a mile in someone else's moccasins. So we're trying to imagine how they got to be motivated to do the things that they're doing. Examining our own motivation, and also making sure that we're not hurting ourselves, hurting others, and that we're willing to accept the consequences of what we were doing. Those were the base communication skills. And we also talked about reflective listening. It sounds like you want, I'm hearing that you feel, it seems like you think, okay, that kind of statement. And active listening, which is asking questions to go with that. So now let's step a little bit into resolving conflict. Okay, we're going to talk about conflict. We're going to talk about dealing with criticism too. So conflict. First of all, when you are having conflict with somebody else, no matter who it is, okay, whether it's your boss, your mother-in-law, your nosy Aunt Rosie, it doesn't matter, your husband, when you're having conflict with others, keep a collaborative, solution-oriented, and forward-facing mindset. Okay, so don't cast blame. And you did this last week, and you always do that. What's happening right now? Okay, how do I solve the problem? What's happening right now, and how can we correct this so it doesn't happen again? Okay, that is the focus that you have to bring to resolving conflict. The second thing that you have to do when you're resolving conflict is to always stay calm. Okay. And I know that sounds like a tall order, but if you feel like you're starting to ratchet up, or you see the person you're speaking to starting to ratchet up, take a break. How about if we take a break and come back to this in 5 minutes? How about if we talk about this tomorrow morning? How about if we talk about this when we get home from work tonight? And then put it in the simmer pot on the back burner of the stove until you get home and you have a chance to talk about it calmly. Okay. Make sure you do get back to it though. Don't just push it off and then let it go up into the ether. Come back to it, work through it. Okay. Because that's how you're going to develop strong, healthy relationships, whether it's with your boss, your coworkers, your friends, your nosy Aunt Rosie, and your mother-in-law, your husband. Okay. Let's see. Watch your tone. Oh, this is a huge one. Okay. It's the way that you say something that makes the difference. Okay. You can say to somebody that, you could basically tell them to go screw themselves and they wouldn't know it if you said it in a nice way. There's a big difference between saying, hey, don't do that, and saying, would you mind not doing that, please? Okay. You see the difference. No hostility. You watch your tone. Always start with gentleness and kindness. Now that doesn't mean you can't escalate later. Okay, and get a little more firm. That doesn't mean you're going to get angry. It doesn't mean you're going to get hostile. It doesn't mean you're going to get snarky. Okay, because what is that going to get you? Okay, keep your eye on the prize. What is your goal? Your goal is to resolve the conflict without being bitchy, feeling bad, or making them feel bad, or destroying relationships or burning bridges, right? You want to resolve that conflict and move on. Okay, so that's one of the ways you do it, is to watch your tone. Okay. Keep your eye on the prize. And then again, we have the golden rule. Okay. So if you were having a discussion with somebody else, would you want them to jump in and say, that doesn't make any sense? You're stupid. Okay. Of course not. Okay. How would you want somebody to talk to you? All right. And now is the time. This is why I talked about this yesterday, to walk the mile in their moccasins. Your boss, you don't know if his boss was just chewing him out, or if he had a fight with his wife this morning, or the cat puked on the rug and the dog peed in his shoes. Okay, you have no idea what happened to him. He may be upset over something that has absolutely nothing to do with you. Conversely, you may be having a disagreement with your mother-in-law, okay? But you don't know what her experience is. What could have made her behave the way she's behaving? What's her motivation? Okay. So her motivations may be pure, but she may not have any communication skills and not know how to communicate them to you. Okay. So give people the benefit of the doubt. Okay. We're going to talk about what to do in a minute, about what to do with people who you can't give the benefit of the doubt to when they're really out to get you. We'll talk about setting limits in a second. But imagine their viewpoint. So when you're having a give and take with somebody over an issue, okay, here's where your listening skills come in. Walk a mile in their moccasins. What is it? Where did they get their opinion from? How did they form that opinion? That doesn't mean you have to agree with it. Listen to it, okay, and acknowledge it. So reflective listening. It sounds like you think that the sky is green. Okay. Now, that doesn't mean you agree that the sky is green. You're just acknowledging, okay, I'm hearing you say that you think the sky is green. Am I right? Okay. So now you can say what you have to say. Well, I think the sky is blue, and here's why. And you say, you talk about light refraction and atmosphere and all that other stuff. But, I can understand where you might think the sky is green. I personally think the sky is blue, and here's why. Okay. So what we're doing is we're having an exchange of ideas. You hear this. Okay. Don't cast blame, and don't look backward, as we were saying. So, every time we talk about this, you talk about the sky being green, and that's not the case. Tone, looking backwards, casting blame. I'm tired of hearing you talk about the sky being green. That's not how you resolve conflict. Tone, calm, reflective listening. I'm hearing you say that you think the sky is green. Okay, is that right? I think the sky is blue, and here's why. Okay, so you're listening, you're acknowledging, you are validating the point that they have an opinion. Everybody, remember this, everybody has the right to their own opinion. Okay, it might be wrong, it might not be a good opinion, maybe it's right, maybe it's not, but they all have the right to it. We cannot change how somebody else behaves. We cannot change how somebody else thinks. We can try, but our expectations of how other people should behave or how other people should think doesn't mean a damn thing, does it? It's not going to change the weather on Jupiter. Okay. So accept the fact that other people have an opinion. Sometimes you can diffuse conflict just by listening to somebody else. Wow, I didn't realize that you thought the sky is green. That's interesting. Okay. You don't have to agree with them. Just validate the fact that they have an opinion. Okay. Sometimes that shuts everything down right away. Okay. And don't think about your next response either. We were just talking about this, using reflective listening before presenting your own position. Okay. Now, limit setting. Sometimes we have to set limits on other people's behavior. This can be difficult to know, okay, when it's appropriate. My general guidelines to people are: you set a limit when somebody else's behavior is negatively impacting you, or you let it go when it's kinder to do that, to let it go. As long as you're not getting hurt too badly, or it's not something that's terrifically important to you, sometimes the kinder thing is to let it go. But that varies from situation to situation, and only you can decide. So it's a matter of degree. How much is somebody else's behavior hurting you? What is the potential outcome? Is it something that you really can't afford to have them do again? And is it the kinder thing to let them just go, okay, and not to call it to their attention? If you have decided that it's time to set the limit, oh, I'm sorry, I just hit the computer. You can say, use the XYZ formula, okay? And the XYZ formula is this: when you do X, I feel Y and I'd like Z. So you're drawing a direct line between what it is they're doing, how it's making you feel, okay, and what you would like instead. So you're not casting blame, okay? You're not putting them down. You're just saying, when you do this, it makes me feel this way, and I would really like this. So again, it's all about your tone, okay? So let's talk about the sky being green, okay? So when you insist that the sky is green and you get angry about it, it makes me feel frustrated, and I would like to talk about something else now. Okay, so notice I didn't say, when you talk about the sky being green and you insist on it, I know I'm right, so you need to stop. Notice I didn't say that. Okay, when you keep insisting the sky is green and you get angry about it, it makes me frustrated. Okay, now it could be, I'm frustrated because I don't want to argue with you. I'm frustrated because I don't like seeing you get upset. I get angry because I don't see like you getting angry. Okay, but notice I didn't say your opinion is wrong. Okay, I just said, this is how it makes me feel when you do this. It makes me feel this way, and I would like to talk about something else now. Okay, notice X, Y, Z. You do X, I feel Y, I'd like Z. Okay, so you can also, now if they continue in, and some people do that, especially the jerky mother-in-laws and people like that, they're just going to be like, well, you really shouldn't do that. Okay, Mom, I love you, and I understand. Now, see, I'm going to throw in some reflective listening. I understand, and I'm hearing you say that you think the trampoline is dangerous for the children. And when you keep questioning my desire to keep the kids safe, it makes me angry. And I would like to talk about something else, or I'd like you to stop now. Okay. And if you say it with kindness and love, it won't be taken in a harsh way. But if they keep going and they won't let up, okay, now what you do is you pull out the broken record technique. And that is, I'm just going to say the same thing over and over and over again until you stop. X, Y, Z. So, and I might switch it up a little bit. I hear what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. I have some things in place to keep the kids safe. I have a screen around there. We have rules, and I would really like you to stop now. So when you question my safety rules, I get angry, and I'd like you to stop now. When you continue to talk this way, it makes me even angrier, and I'd really like to talk about something else now. And you just keep saying it over and over again until they get the message. Okay. You can even say something like, let's agree to disagree. I understand what you're saying, but I disagree, and I'm going to do this. Okay, because they have no control over what you do either. Okay, you don't have control over what they do, but they don't have control over you either. You don't have to give in to somebody else, okay, just to make them happy. Okay, because you need to understand, how am I going to feel at the end of the day? What are my values? Okay, and I want to make sure I stay true to those values. And we're going to talk in another video about that. If you have to set boundaries and consequences, then do so. So you might for example, you got somebody at work who won't stop talking about your love life. Oh, well, how was your blind date last night? Okay. And finally, you may have to say, I don't like talking about my personal life at work, and I'm going to have to walk away now if we can't find something else to talk about. You're setting a boundary. You could tell your mother-in-law, you know what, I'm not going to discuss this anymore. And if you continue, I'm going to have to get up and walk away for a few minutes because I'm getting angry. Setting a boundary, setting a consequence. Okay. If you continue to leave the dishes for me, I'm not going to wash them either, and we're not going to have clean dishes. So I would really like you to put the dishes in the dishwasher when it's your turn. Setting boundaries, setting consequences, okay? And again, being collaborative and solution oriented is the key. You may have to set limits, X, Y, Z, but it's really key to say, all right, how are we going to solve this problem? So let's just say you're having an issue with your partner doesn't want to do the dishes when it's his turn. Okay, he doesn't want to put them in the dishwasher. He doesn't want to wash them when it's his turn. So you can say, it seems like you're having trouble getting the dishes done when it's your turn. Now, notice I didn't say you're not washing the dishes. Okay, what the hell is wrong with you? I'm noticing that you're not getting the dishes done when it's your turn. You're having difficulty. Well, he's obviously having difficulty, but I'm using kindness. I'm using the golden rule. Okay. How would I want somebody to approach me if I was having trouble getting a chore done? I'm noticing that you're having trouble getting the dishes into the dishwasher. And it's important for us to have clean dishes to eat from. So how can we make this work? Always be willing to compromise. So you might be able to say, well, look, I can do the dishes if you're having trouble, if you take the trash out for me. Okay. You can find a compromise, be collaborative, be willing to work together. Don't always make it my way or the highway. Okay. So these are really good skills to have when you're just working through everyday conflict. Okay. So now the toxic people, there are always going to be toxic situations, toxic people. Okay. That no matter what you do, they're psychically damaged, the psychic vampires. Okay. So, first of all, when you're walking that mile in their moccasins, you're going to understand that, wow, it must really suck to be them, because think about how horrible they must feel, right? Think about what life must be like for them to be angry all the time, or to be jerks all the time, or to constantly take advantage of other people. I mean, that's got to really suck to be that person. So bringing that compassion to the table, it doesn't justify their behavior, but it helps to bring your anger levels down and make it easier for you to deal with their toxicity. Toxic situations. Now, some toxic people and situations, the best advice I usually have for people is you set limits and you try to keep them over here. Okay, you build the wall between you and them. You do not want that toxicity leaching into your life. Okay. That being said, there are times when you just don't have an option. If it is a family member, okay, your brother-in-law or your nephew or some who may be toxic, and you just can't separate yourself from that person. You can limit contact. And then what you're going to do, if they're truly toxic people, is you're just going to have to use the broken record technique combined with XYZ statements. Okay. And definitely set consequences and follow through. You cannot allow them to leach in and to permeate your existence with their toxicity. Now, if it's a toxic situation like a job, okay, I would do everything in my power to get the hell out. Okay. Why? Our lives are too precious to waste time in these toxic situations. So if you can't manage to identify what the toxic situation, what it is about that situation that is toxic, and then limit your contact with it or the people who are toxic, it's time to move on. Okay. Your well-being is not worth a job. All right. There are plenty of other jobs out there to find. So go find one. It may take you 6 months, start looking and keep that toxicity away. And again, sometimes we don't have that option. And if we don't have that option in a toxic situation or toxic people that are around us, especially when it's family, then what we have to do again is to keep them at arm's length as much as possible. XYZ statements, setting the limits, broken record when they don't respect the limits, and consequences. All right. So there's boundaries that got to get set, and you have to be consistent in enforcing them. Now, handling criticism, a lot of times conflict comes from criticism. Okay. And reflective listening skills are really good for that. So the first thing you have to do is evaluate, is the criticism true? Okay. So if somebody says to me, you're really selfish, you don't do your share of the chores. Okay. Is it true? Not the selfish part, but am I not doing my share of the chores? If I am, we're going to handle it one way. And if I'm not, and it's true, we're going to handle it another way. So the first thing you're going to do is reflective listening. Wow, it sounds like you're upset and you're angry and that you feel I'm not doing my share of the chores. I'm assuming you're talking about the dishes. We were talking about dishes, right? Dishes. Okay. If it's true, you say, you know what? I hadn't thought about that. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. I'm really sorry that I've been putting it on you. I will do better. I'll do better. I'll make sure I do my share of the chores. You agree and you apologize and you make it right. And then you move on. Okay. You don't let them beat you over the head with that forever and ever. Amen. Then you've got to pull out your XYZ and your boundary settings. Okay. Apologize and make it right and move on. Okay. If the criticism is true. Now, what if it's not true? Okay. There are a couple of different ways to handle that. So if somebody says, you know what, you're not doing your share of the chores, reflective listening, blam. Sounds like you're upset because you think I'm not doing the dishes when it's my turn. I'll keep that in mind. I'll make sure I do better. Okay. So what you're doing is you're deflecting. You're not agreeing with it. You're not saying, you're right, I apologize, I'll do better. You're not giving in. You're just saying, wow, you gave me something to think about. Yeah, you know what? I'll do better. I'll make sure I keep an eye on that. Okay. You know, you're doing the dishes. Your ego, if it's strong enough, you don't have to engage with that. Okay. If somebody says you don't get your reports in on time, and you know you do, and it's somebody at work, you can say, you know what? Here's another way to handle it. Thanks for bringing that to my attention. I'm really glad that you care enough about me to point out something that you think is wrong. All right, you didn't agree with them. You're deflecting. Okay. And you could say something like, I had no idea that you felt that way. I had no idea I was doing this. You've given me something to think about. Okay. Depending on what it is, you can agree with it. You know what? You're absolutely right. My knuckle cracking must be very annoying. I'll make sure I pay attention to that. Okay. When you agree with it, you take away the fight. So your mother-in-law says, wow, you know, that I really don't like the fact the kids are in the trampoline. Yeah, it does look like a very dangerous toy, doesn't it? Okay. I have safety measures in place. Okay. There you go. So you have agreed with her. Yes, it looks very dangerous, doesn't it? Okay. But you know that you have safety measures in place, and you could say that to her. I've got safety measures in place. It's cool. We've got this. Okay. I'm hearing that you think it's unsafe, reflective listening. And I can understand why you would think that way. You're agreeing with her. Okay. But we have a net around, we have safety measures in place, and we have rules. But thank you for thinking about the kids. I know you love them. There you go. Now that's another sneaky way. This is a really great way to diffuse your nosy Aunt Rosie, who won't stop asking you about, when are you going to have another kid? Or, or when are you going to get married? Or do you have a new boyfriend yet? And things like that. So you can say to her, that's something that I really love about you. You're turning criticism around. That's what I love about you, Aunt Rosie. You care so much about me. Thank you for asking. You didn't answer her, but you thank her for asking. Now, you know that kind of person is going to keep digging, but you didn't answer my question. And that's when you're going to say, I know, but, I'm not going to talk about, I really don't want to talk about that right now. So, but I still love you, Aunt Rosie, for thinking of me. And you keep bringing up the fact that you really love her for thinking about it. But that doesn't mean you're going to answer the question. That's where broken record comes in. Don't become defensive either, because that just gives them a reason to probe and pick, and it can become conflict if you become defensive. Sometimes people are just looking for a fight, so don't give it to them. If somebody says they don't like your blouse, well, it seems like you don't like my blouse, and I thank you for your opinion. I appreciate your input. Okay, deflected. Okay, you're not agreeing with them. You're not saying, but I like this blouse, my favorite blouse. Okay. Oh, I see you don't seem to like the blouse. I'm sorry you feel that way. Thanks for your input. I do value your opinion. That doesn't mean you're going to take the blouse off or never wear it again. You might wear it again tomorrow. Who cares? But you see what I'm doing, deflecting. Okay. What else? Nosy Aunt Rosie, we talked about. I think we have pretty much covered it, people. That is awesome. I want you to practice doing this, all these conflict resolution skills and reflective listening. This is not stuff that is you're going to have come magically to you just because I told you. It takes practice. So please practice it. Please learn it. Next week, I'm going to come back and I'm going to give you some, we're going to talk about some self-confidence skills, how to build your self-confidence and your self-esteem. Maybe we'll talk about some stress relief tactics. So I can't wait to see you next week. Have a wonderful weekend. Namaste.